bro. No, Deion, he's not going to Florida State. Mike Norvell's our guy.
Right.
Yeah. You guys go over there and you be your Pac-12 show, okay?
Right.
Okay, so Florida State loses another recruit. And we're just supposed to think that this is no big deal. Like, you know, this is what we do. You know, 4-star recruits, now the number 2 dual threat quarterback available, decommitted from Florida this week. Anybody want to guess where this cat's going to be this weekend? You know, he's a stud, an Elite 11 finalist, 4-star dual threat quarterback. Anybody want to guess what game he's going to this week? Just go ahead, take a guess. So now we know why Billy Napier kept his job. Because according to, you know, we're not an SEC show.
Right.
But according to SEC shows out there.
We're an ACC show. Yeah.
Anyway, according to the SEC crowd, Billy Napier kept his job because in Tallahassee, they believe that Mike Norvell is going to get fired. And their top target's going to be Deion Sanders. And so they want to solidify as many top recruits as they can, and you don't do that by firing your coach. What did Mike Norvell do this week? He fired everybody on his staff. And he has lost multiple 4- and 5-star recruits now. It's no longer, oh, well, we replaced them, Mark. You don't replace these guys. There's no replacing these guys. You have a talent problem in Tallahassee. And now you fired all your coordinators, and now you lost another big recruit. Tell me again you're not in trouble.
Right.
Tell me again that when your top quarterback recruit is going to see LSU at Florida and he's expected this weekend to commit and enroll early at Florida, tell me again that Mike Norvell's job's not on the line. Make the argument. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And tell me again that Deion Sanders isn't going to be a candidate at Florida State. Now, I was doing what I do, which is I was being a voracious reader. It means I read a lot.
I sifted through all that.
And I started reading, you know, some of the Chicago newspaper guys, wondering aloud if Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders could be a package deal for the Chicago Bears. The answer is no. But here's my question. There seems to be all this momentum for Deion to Florida State, Deion to the NFL, Deion to your mom's house. Do you guys believe, in the comment section, do you believe that Deion Sanders, do you believe? Thank you. That Deion Sanders is leaving Colorado. Now, here's my case for it. And here's why I think Deion Sanders is leaving Colorado. Because so is Shedeur and Travis Hunter. Deion's proven everything he needs to prove that he can win at the college level and at the FBS level. He's proven he can recruit. I reminded somebody yesterday, Travis Hunter was the #1 high school recruit in the country, and he went to play for Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Tell me again that Deion can't recruit with Seton at left tackle and Seton's high school teammate now starting at center. Tell me again he can't recruit on an offensive line that is exponentially better than they were. Deion Sanders has proven everything he needed to prove. If Florida State calls Deion Sanders, you really believe he's going to stay in Boulder? I don't.
No.
I also don't believe that Deion Sanders is looking to jump to the NFL with Shedeur. Do you want to go coach the Jets? Because where would he end up? Ask yourself this question. Is Deion Sanders going to the Jets? Is Deion Sanders going to the Las Vegas Raiders? A lot of people talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. Is Deion Sanders going to Jacksonville, Florida to coach the Jags? A lot of people talking about the Jags and Deion. I don't think he's going to the NFL. I think Deion Sanders. I think there are 2 college jobs he would leave Boulder for. The Texas Longhorns or the Florida State Seminoles. I think other than that, he's not going to any other smaller school. And how many schools? And I think this is where the Colorado conversation comes in. Aren't most schools for Deion Sanders a step down from Colorado? I think they are. He's got a blank check there. He's got great facilities. He's got great support. He's got the administration behind him. Why would you leave that to go to Baylor?
Facts.
You're not leaving Colorado to go to Baylor. You're leaving Colorado to go to Austin. You're leaving Colorado to go to Tallahassee. And last time I checked, Steve Sarkisian's not going anywhere anytime soon. Deion Sanders, if he gets a phone call from the boys in Tallahassee, he gone. I think it is. I think one, and we talked about it this week, and Colorado fan got all red-assed over it. I know, shocking here on the Big 12 show. Got all red-assed over the fact that Deion Sanders would consider leaving Colorado. He would leave Colorado. Yeah, he would. And has he done great things? Have they supported him? Does he have facilities? Does he have NIL? Does he have yes, and yes? But are you telling me he's not going to make more money, have more facilities at Florida State than he would have in Boulder? Yeah, he would. Because there's only one thing that matters in Florida State, and it ain't your GPA.
Right.
It's winning football games. And you're one of your best remaining recruits just left with all your other best remaining recruits. Mike Norvell, if there's a hot seat, he's on it. I believe very, very sternly, Deion Sanders isn't going to the NFL. I believe he's going to Florida State.
Yeah, I think that if Deion chooses to leave, Florida State would be really attractive to him, and it makes a lot of sense. I think, again, Florida State's got to have the willingness to fire Mike and make that change. But, I think for Deion, the way I would characterize it is he's not going anywhere where his access to the college football playoff and a national championship is less than it is now. And, Florida State has more access to the CFP than Colorado does. Texas clearly has more access. I think, if you're in the Big 12 right now and you've brought up a program that's been terrible the last 10, 15 years or whatever, and you've shown now that you can build a program, the world's your oyster. And that's why I say, programs like Ohio State, not a great fit for Deion. That's just not.
Michigan, all the jackwagons in Michigan now.
Yeah, see, I don't think he would go there.
Coming to the rationale that Sharon Moore was not a good hire. I think we told you that on this show. Mistake.
Yeah.
You think Deion Sanders is going to leave Colorado to go to probation?
No.
Recruiting restrictions? Come on. That's a bad football team.
Yeah, it's not a great program right now.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you now that Deion Sanders, I think he really likes being in Boulder. I think he really likes being at Colorado. I don't think he's looking to leave.
I don't think let's be really specific on this for all the people that like to say we're just we're just
you're a hot take guy, Marty.
Creating this. Listen, nobody said Deion doesn't like the situation he's in. That's not the conversation we're having, and don't get it confused. The conversation we're having is, hey, if better opportunity, if a higher level of program comes calling, Deion has to entertain that conversation just like anybody else. And the fact is all you hyenas who don't like Deion's style and want to hate on him for how he goes about building his program and, want to hate on him for the sunglasses and the chains and it's Louis and all that. The reality of the situation is kids like that. Kids want to be flashy. The best high school football players come into the college level to then go to the league. They want to be somewhere where they can get attention. And that's why Colorado has been such a, rousing success for Deion Sanders, because he's turned that thing into one of the most relevant programs week in and week out. That's not to say they're the best program or they can beat anyone, but the word relevant is what you have to understand. So if Deion went to Florida State, are you kidding me right now? You're instantly the favorite in the ACC. You're instantly favored to then go to the college football playoff and contend for a national championship. This is not rocket science, man.
Yeah, and Mile High Phil echoes the thoughts of 1,000 people in our comments section. Oh, Julian Lewis. Okay, Julian Lewis from Carleton, phenomenal quarterback. I believe he's a 5-star quarterback. And he's verbally committed, I believe, to Colorado at this point. Where's he going to be this weekend? He's going to be in Georgia, Athens specifically, for Tennessee and Georgia. And I would remind you, this is the single biggest recruiting weekend at Georgia and at Florida. There's a lot of universities, massive recruiting weekend.
Yeah.
So let me just understand this. And I am not a smart person. I totally understand it. I'm a cut below. No,
well, you're a fat old Mormon and dying.
Thank you.
You know.
I'm a cut below Mike Tyson's brain level here, okay? But
Google me.
Little stupid old Monty. Deion Sanders goes to the conference championship game. All right, cool. We're in January. Deion Sanders, Colorado football season ends. Florida State calls Deion Sanders. He says, okay, I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to leave Colorado. I'm going to Florida State. What would Julian Lewis do?
Pack this thing up. We're out of here.
I committed to Colorado. He'd go to Florida State. Would he have the ability to go to Florida State? Well, yeah, he would. Because when your coach leaves, what immediately happens?
The transfer portal opens
for 30 days. You can go anywhere you want and you don't have to sit out. Could he get to Florida? I think he could.
Come on, man.
Julian Lewis is committing to Deion Sanders. He's not committing to Colorado. As great as Colorado is, and I believe it is a great place to get an education. The education is amazing.
Do you believe?
If he's visiting Athens, do you really think he wouldn't go to Tallahassee? Come on now. Do I think that Deion's going to leave? No. Do I think he wants to leave? No. Do I think he views Colorado as a stepping stone? I don't. Florida State calls Deion Sanders as going to that job. That's what I think. I don't think there's many other schools in the country. As I just said, I think Texas and I think Florida State could pull Deion Sanders out of Boulder.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to the NFL. I don't think he's going to coach Shedeur.
It doesn't make sense to. That's the problem.
And he said repeatedly that's not what he's after. He's not trying to get to the NFL. He wants to win a national championship in college.
Yeah.
Then I could see, okay, have the conversation. But this is also a guy who doesn't want to work the rest of his life. He's talked about that as well.
Doesn't need to.
No, he doesn't need to be coaching now.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be coaching now. My point is, he's only going to Texas or Florida State.
Yeah.
Colorado's not a stepping stone. Julian Lewis isn't committing to Colorado. He's committing to Deion Sanders. I think it is what it is. And I think that's tough. Have you seen the tight end that committed to CU? He is huge. He confirmed that Deion is staying. Juju Lewis is taking over for Shedeur. If Florida State gets Deion, they get an excellent recruit from CU.
That's what I'm saying. The recruiting stuff just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter
They'll
anymore.
follow him.
Yeah. UW Van Jim, Deion will only leave if he likes money, fame, and sunny weather. It's a toss-up. That's what I'm saying. Aggie 5190. I think Prime is great at college because of his recruiting ability. Put him in the NFL and that gets taken away. That's exactly right. Deion Sanders is somebody who can reach a young kid. Do you know how much more difficult it is to go and reach who's your best player? Aaron Rodgers? Do you want to go and coach Aaron Rodgers? I don't. Do you want to go and try and coach in that Dallas Cowboys front office? I don't.
Nope.
No, I don't at all. If BYU loses in the Big 12 title game, they're probably getting in as an at-large. They would have to be undefeated going to the Big 12 title game. If BYU loses one game, goes to the college or the Big 12 championship and loses, they're not getting in.
So at that point, they'd be a 2-loss team.
The math does not add up.
Yeah.
The math doesn't add up. It simply does not.
Yeah.
The Big 12 would be the Big 12, in my opinion, what's best for the Big 12, and BYU fan, put your hands at 10-2. BYU going undefeated and winning the college or winning the Big 12 championship game is not what's best for the Big 12. What's best for the Big 12 is BYU goes undefeated for the next 3 weeks, goes to the conference championship game against Colorado, loses to Colorado, who also went undefeated to get there. Colorado goes in as an AQ. BYU gets in at large.
Yeah. 2
teams in. That's what's best for the Big 12. I know that you don't like that, but Old Tatanka. Old Tatanka.
Here we go.
I love that name. No. Watch Well Off from Wednesday.
No.
He loves it here, and he's not an FSU fan. They didn't hire him last go-around. Do you think he's going to say anything other than "I love it at Colorado"? Do you really think he's going to say, like, I watch Coach Prime, I watch his show on Prime Video, like I watch his social media, like, do you really think he's going to say, man, I got to tell you, Colorado, when Shador's gone, I'm gone.
Yeah, do you think he's going to pull a Mike Gundy? No, he's not. No, he's not going to criticize Colorado and their fans, and
he's not
doing that, dude.
He's not doing that. Make sure you find the Monty Show on Spotify. Spotify, you can watch our show, listen to our show, video and audio. Spotify. All you have to do is search Spotify, The Monty Show is where you'll find us on Spotify. You are just looking for clicks. So you think we're clickbaiting in the middle of a show because we're talking about Deion Sanders going to Florida State? Tell me you don't know how YouTube works without telling me. If I were looking for clicks, the title would be Deion Sanders leaves Colorado. Deion Sanders going to Florida State.
Deion Sanders took a call from Florida State.
This is what I just keep saying. Take your emotion out of it. Use common sense. I know it's sports. We don't do that here.
I know, we're like Deion, though. We only play for clicks, so,
Ask Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
Tanner, also, why would Prime leave the incredible view in Boulder for anywhere else in college football? He talked about the incredible view. Listen, I understand you don't like it. I understand it to be upsetting. You feel like you would go back to irrelevance. That doesn't mean it's not happening.
No, you don't feel like you would. You would. And you damn well know that.
It's not personal. Like, Tatanka, you getting upset and saying we're clickbaiting?
By the way, just want to put this out there. It's our job to get people to find the show. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, and if we're clickbaiting, that's what we should be doing.
We should be doing, but we're not even doing that. We're having a legitimate, in-depth conversation about the wheres and the hows as to Deion Sanders potentially leaving Colorado. Because if he doesn't leave, what you don't want to say is, hey, if Colorado can retain him this offseason, he's going to be there a long time. He's probably going to be there another 5 years, I would think.
If he were going to leave, it would be now when Shador and Travis and...
Yeah. He's not going to start another cycle there unless he wants to be there.
No. But if the Florida State job is open, and I was reading, I want to say, it was one of the Orlando news outlets talking about how Florida State has the money to pay Mike Norvell to walk. I think it's $58 million they would owe him at the end of this year. They have the money. It's not going to be a money thing at Florida State.
Yeah.
They throw away more money on legal bills against the ACC than they do with Mike Norvell's contract.
Seriously.
Come on now. History has said time and time again that a coach will say he is happy where he is and not going anywhere, only for them to get an offer too good to pass up and leaves. Mike, that's not true. We're
not
clickbaiting.
True, dude.
We're clickbaiting the views.
The recruits. He would never
ever leave Boulder.
Not ever.
It's not personal to Tonka.
What was the last case? That wasn't it? Mike Elko, I believe it was, before he took the A&M job.
Duke is Duke. Duke is Duke. Not every college coach is a paycheck chaser, and I don't think it's a paycheck thing for Deion.
No, it's not.
It's a win thing.
That's a great point. And this is my point about Florida State. And I would agree if Texas called, obviously he would entertain that call, but I don't think they're going to call. I think Sark is there. They're in a great place. But Florida State is a great opportunity to improve for Deion. That's the problem. He gets more access. He's getting better recruits at that point. There's a lot of reasons why that might be attractive to Deion. That's the hard part.
I'm just saying, if I do a news search, there's multi-athlon. Deion Sanders' son sends 7-word message about Florida State news. If we're clickbaiting, we're doing a really terrible job. Go do a news search
via social media.
Come on. Yeah. Paul Feinbaum did a whole segment on this yesterday. You guys.
That's why we have Feinbaum.
I don't know why everybody makes it personal. Paul Feinbaum was talking about this yesterday on the show. It's the biggest fall off in the history of college football, Feinbaum said regarding Florida State. I mean, Michigan, they lost their head coach. 3 to 5 losses was projected. 3 would have been great, 4 likely, 5 disappointing, but Florida State was a top 10 team when the season began. There's no excuse. Mike Norvell has literally lost all the goodwill he had a year ago. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Right? Like Deion couldn't get a phone call from Florida State a couple of years ago, but in fairness, what had he done? Question. Now, I mean, he's one of the hottest coaches in all of football. A lot of people were wrong. Deion proves people wrong. It's what he does, like it's his job. He's also arguably the most famous football player ever to step foot in that stadium.
Yeah.
It's inconceivable, or is it that Florida State would say, hey, Deion, we want you back? Yeah, it's not inconceivable.
No.
And Tatanka and everybody else in Boulder country, we're not the only ones saying it. 2 weeks ago, yeah, we were probably the only ones saying it. Now everybody's saying it. You lost your recruits. You're firing Mike Norvell. If you can get Deion Sanders. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right, Gumby. Spinal.
Yeah, bro.
Right? Like
that's
just
what it is, man.
Spinal.
Chris C. Juju Lewis is going to commit on national TV. Deion is working in the background to set it up in December. Cool.
Again, that does not matter.
Who is he committing to? Is he committing to the Buffs? Is he committing to Colorado? No. He's committing to Deion Sanders. If he's taken a visit to Athens, I understand why. But that tells me he would play in the Southeast.
Well, he wants the SRT deal.
That could be very true. Could be very true. The stadium guy. Coach Prime to FSU, and that QB who decommitted from Florida State would reconsider if Prime went there. I think he probably would.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton, Coach Prime to Utah State. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard
Great
that.
job, you know?
I've heard he likes to smell manure in the morning.
Right. And the view.
Chris E. FSU was Prime's dream job. That they ignored him and hired Norvell. Why does that matter? What did Deion Sanders do at any point prior to Colorado to show that he belonged as the head coach at Florida State? It would have been a gimmick. It would have been a stunt. So what had he done to earn that offer?
Yep.
Geoff, Prime to Utah after Wick gets gone after his last year next year. I've heard the same thing.
Yeah. Again, the view.
Deion's holding out. He likes the mountain views.
Yeah.
You know. I'm just saying, like, just don't take everything so goddamn personally on this show. I mean, for crying out loud, Mike Smith has billboards in his hometown to fire his coach. Colorado was a dumpster fire, and Prime went there and has turned it around. Yes, he has. This just in, Marty mentions football coach live on YouTube. Tune in. Oh, my God. All right. Couple of games to get to here. By the way, your final prediction on Kansas at BYU.
Man, 35-24.
You think they're going to blow them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
37-34, BYU finds a way to win late. Jetta, Colorado. 10 a.m. in the morning on the Coach Prime farewell tour. Minus 11.5 for Colorado. 45.5 point number. So let me get this right. You think that Colorado is going to win like 34-11?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any way Colorado loses this game. And the Brandon Rose story, the quarterback at Utah, this sucks out loud. Let me get this right. You tore the Liz Frank ligament in your foot off the bone completely. One of the most painful injuries that a human being can endure. The Liz Frank bone in your foot. It's what controls your feet. This Liz Frank, there's bones and so you know how your foot bends in half? If you break those bones and your foot breaks in half, like from this to this, that's called a Liz Frank break. The ligament that prevents that from happening, Brandon Rose last week tore it off the bone and finished the game. They put a metal plate in his shoe and wrapped him up and gave him painkillers, and he finished the game. Out for the year, had surgery this week. How did he finish that game? This is akin to just cutting your foot off. Your foot doesn't work
By the
anymore.
way, what does that say about Isaac Wilson?
What that says to me is, holy Jesus, Brandon Rose is the quarterback of the future of this program. And this is Isaac Wilson's last best chance at Utah, because I think that kid's a portal kid.
Yeah.
Now, which is shocking. But you look at the way that Utah has massively declined and cratered this year. You're going into an environment that I would assume is going to be lit, because aren't all Colorado home games lit? And I think this is truly one of the games of the year for Colorado. You are in a position where if you win this game, you're in all likelihood going to the conference championship, because you go to Arrowhead. Hey, by the way, do you think that Arrowhead environment's going to be too big for Colorado? Somehow I don't think so. Do you think Arrowhead's going to be packed to see Deion? I think it will be.
It will be.
And then you come home for senior night against Oak State. Oh, I'm sorry, senior morning, because that's another 10 a.m. kickoff. I think this is the game of the year. And it's really interesting that BYU has Kansas, which I think is their now game of the year. And I think this game for Colorado, this is a huge game. You're on a 3-game heater. You've won 6 of 7. And my question is, how much does Utah fight in this game? How much heart does Utah have left in its tank? I think a lot. I think Utah wants to prove a point. And I think this is going to be one of the most difficult games of the year for Colorado, because that Utah defense is running and they're downhill and they like to hurt people. And I think that defense is solid, but my biggest question is, can this secondary hold up for 4 quarters against those wide receivers? If it does, I think Utah can win the game.
Yeah, and I don't think it can. And I think that the problem is that, one of the biggest takeaways for Colorado's offense coming out of the Texas Tech game was the throw it to the flat game that really bailed Shedeur out multiple times. And they are putting together offensive schemes that are accounting for the fact that their offensive line sometimes can't hold up against the more prolific pass rushes in the conference, which Utah has clearly. And so to me, I would fully expect that Colorado is probably not going to try to run the ball too much against this Utah defense, which I think is a good move. You're not a prolific running team. It's just not what you do. But I would 1000% expect a ton of screenplay, a ton of, 3 to 5 yard in route, quick, get the ball out type play until Utah backs off the pressure and is forced to play zone in the secondary. And then once that happens, then I think Colorado's in a better place. But that initially is, I think, how that's going to decide how this game goes. If Colorado can put a scheme together that handles the pressure and gives Shedeur a way to avoid just taking yet another beating, they're going to be fine in this game.
Can you bring the Utah linebackers close enough to the line of scrimmage by running the football to allow that quick screen to Travis, who takes it 40 yards to the house? Because I don't think that's going to be very easy. Texas Tech's defense is wildly undisciplined.
Yes.
Utah's is not.
Yeah.
And the biggest question is, with this Utah pass rush, who's not getting home at the rate that we're used to in Sac Lake City, can they move Shedeur off his spot with enough physicality to prevent the explosive play down the field? Because that's going to determine this game. Colorado is not even going to try and convince you they're going to run the ball to beat you, because they're not. They're going to throw the ball, and it's your job to make sure you don't turn a 10-yard crossing route into a 50-yard touchdown on defense. And this defense usually doesn't do that. They have solid, if not spectacular, but solid corners who cover well. And they are solid. So my biggest question is, can they prevent the explosive play over the top?
And I don't know, man. I think you're playing on such a fine margin at Utah, meaning if you were to hold Colorado to 21 points in this game, that's a damn good defensive performance. Like you're talking about holding one of the most explosive offenses in the Big 12 to 3 touchdowns in an entire football game. That would be crazy.
Crazy.
And that's what I struggle with is Utah's defense is really, really good. They're disciplined, they play hard, they get after you. But again, a really good defensive performance against Colorado would be low 20s. And I don't think you can score even 14 points in this game.
I think that's
the problem.
The biggest question. Can Utah score? This Colorado defense has been solid. They've won 6 of 7, largely on the back of getting third down stops.
Yeah.
Which they've done at an increasing rate week after week now. You're not seeing the stupidity that wreaked havoc on this team early in the year. Shiloh Sanders is back at the top of that defense, so they have a lot more stability back there. And by the way, this Utah offense has to run the football. They have to break off big runs for touchdowns. You can get that against Colorado. You can get that behind a really good Utah offensive line, which now might be the best in the conference. I just don't think that you can score 17 points. And I think, to your point, 17's not beating Colorado. They trip and fall on 28 points.
Yeah.
I think the biggest question is, does Colorado score a defensive touchdown? And if Utah breaks 20 points, they may well win this game. Because that's going to take multiple possessions away from Colorado if you score 20 points. I don't think they can. I think it's 34-17, and I think Colorado wins this game comfortably.
Yeah, and think about how the Oak State game went for Utah, because we're getting that same setup. Defense and Isaac Wilson. Like, that was a grinded-out game against a team that has a poor offense.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case. That's what I'm saying. I don't see Utah getting past 14 points in this game. And
it's going to be tough.
And I think Colorado, the problem is my biggest fear for the defense at Utah is you're going to get overexposed again. And that's not through any fault of your own. And if you're
on the field too long against Colorado,
so like you're going to get 2 touchdowns that are just gimme touchdowns because you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's why I say I really do think the what is it, 11.5 points for Colorado?
Yes.
I think that's a fair number. The altitude's not a factor, obviously. Both these teams play at altitude, so that's not a factor. Weather shouldn't be a factor. This is just going to be a pure, hey, can Utah's offense keep the defense on the bench long enough? And I don't think they can. And I think that Colorado is going to come out and I think push this to 35 points on Utah. I definitely can see that.
Yeah, I think that the biggest question is, can Utah score 20 points?
Yeah.
Because if they score 3 touchdowns, they're going to be in this game because the simple math says that would take likely 2 more possessions away from Colorado's offense.
Right.
Which means you're that much closer. But even if I have it projected at 34-17, that's 3 possessions. So even if you score 20 points, I don't know that that's enough to win the game. I think you would likely have to be 24 to win this game. And your defense would have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because you just can't run with Colorado. Texas Tech learned this. And as I said last week, Texas Tech simply does not have the quality athlete it takes to win in this league on defense consistently. Utah has that. They don't have enough of it to stay with Colorado's offense. And it'll be really interesting to see, for instance, such as I don't know Jimmy Horn's status, and if any of the Colorado folk in the comment section would like to hop in there. If they play, I think it is very interesting. Horn is questionable this week. I think that is a huge, huge deal. He is day-to-day. And I think when you look at their depth at wide receiver, even with Jimmy Horn out, O'Marion Miller's out for the year, I think. You're going to have to deal with a lot of still look at the depth that Colorado brought to Texas Tech at wide receiver. Was it Travis Hunter that debilitated you? Yeah, 9 for 99 is horrendous, especially when LaJohntay Wester, who is absolutely feasting on secondaries, had 6 more for 82. Will Shepard, 8 for 79. I mean, like, they just have guys, and that's without Jimmy Horn.
Yeah.
That's the thing that worries you, because they only ran for 60 yards and they scored 41 points on Texas Tech. 41 points. And I'd remind you, Texas Tech scored 27. All right, let's bring that into practicality in Boulder. You're at home. That was on the road. So I'm taking points away from you because it's Utah. So I'm not 41. I'm at 34. Your offense isn't even half the offense that Texas Tech is.
Yeah.
I just don't see a path unless Colorado comes out asleep. I don't see a path for Utah to win the game. And I've tried and tried. I have to believe this offense is going to sputter because Isaac's not been able to lead anybody.
And I do think there's risk it could get ugly. I think if he plays poorly, let's say, and turns it over a couple of times, now we're talking about 40-plus points. If you turn the football over in this game and you give them a defensive touchdown, that's not good.
Well, Damian Fowler, Bernard. Then when you're done with that, go back to Bernard.
Yeah.
I mean...
And I don't disagree with that. He's your best weapon.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is I'm not even saying that Isaac, it's all on Isaac Wilson and that he's going to be garbage. I'm not saying that at all. I think he's going to give you the absolute best he has. And I think his best is doable. But the reality is you don't have Money Parks, man. You don't have Brant Keithy. You don't have, who are you throwing the football to?
Like, I don't know. They've been wildly inconsistent outside of throwing the ball to Brant Keithy.
Yeah.
Dorian Singer's been very inconsistent. Had big moments.
That's what I'm saying. This is not is Utah going to win the game conversation.
Look at Roche with a Wisco badge. What are you doing, Roche? Okay. Mike Smith, Utah needs their A game on defense and offense. Isaac Wilson's got to be the next coming.
For them to win this game, we'd have to see something out of Isaac Wilson we've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mike, you're right. They got to play the game, right? I think it is really tough right now offensively for Utah, and I have a lot of compassion for what Witt's going through because that's got to be maddening.
Yeah,
it's got to be absolutely maddening.